But right now, very pleased to have with us from the Urban Shooter Podcast, Pastor Kenn Blanchard. And Ken, thank you so much for coming on the program this evening.
Man, appreciate the invite, Brother Cam.
You bet. Ran across this story, I think from North Carolina, or a column by Bill Leonard, gunfight at the OK Sunday School class, and he's just so freaked out he over the prospect, Ken, that pastors in North Carolina can actually allow for licensed concealed carry on their premises there. I don't get this, Ken. What is the big deal about a pastor being able to decide if he wants his church to allow right to carry or not?
It's probably a sleeping giant. Somebody kind of fell asleep at the wheel. The church is not an oasis. We should be ministering to the community. The world out at large should be part of the church. We're not in the sacred place that nobody can touch us. And maybe he just realized that most of the country believes in the right to carry. And especially the people of North Carolina want to also exercise their rights while they worship, as well as when they're going to and fro outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when he says one of the things that he says most important, what specific spiritual resources should communities of faith muster for life in a country with the world's largest personal firearm concentration? Ken, do you think we need specific spiritual resources mustered for life in the United States? Is there something inherently bad that we live in a nation in which we can express and exercise our right to keep and bear arms?
No, I think it's all just a matter of perspective. We live in a world where a church is a prime spot for criminal predators, and you need to have trained people within the church. And I would welcome a contingency of armed citizens in a heartbeat in my church. You got hecklers and vandalism that happens to churches, theft that happens even during collection. You could get armed attacked. You could be subject to arson, church burnings. You could have gang people using the church for drug trafficking. And even the pastor could be set up for assassination. You can't pretend like the world doesn't exist outside the doors.
Well, no, especially, in the past couple of years when we talked about the attempt to shoot in a New Life Church and how Jeannie Assam, who was a concealed carry holder and a volunteer member of the church's security team, was actually able to stop this guy who came into the church intent on killing God knows how many people.
Yeah. Also forget that of the 12 tribes of Israel, all of but one were ready for war. Only that one tribe of Levi was the ones that worked inside the church.
Oh, really?
Of all the 12 tribes, all the tribes were set, and they were all the ones that fought. It was only that one set aside to work inside the synagogue, the Levites, that were not to fight. But everybody else, armed.
See, this is why I love having you on the show, Pastor, because I always learn something from you. So, I mean, is this a big issue among leaders of congregations that you talk to, or is this something that they spend a lot of time thinking about?
It's almost unmentionable. You have some pastors who know that they've had threats in their life, and they have to carry concealed themselves, but they can't really tell their parishioners. You have those who are very traditional, and they want to appease the mothers of the church and not appear to be any different than their forefathers. So they will blatantly talk about gun reduction and how it's the bane of our existence, only because they don't know, too. So you have two things. If you have a person who doesn't really know about firearm safety, doesn't have the firearms knowledge, you can't talk about something you don't know about, so you kind of go the other direction, too.
Yeah. Well, again, Pastor, I appreciate you coming on the program, sir. If folks want to listen to the Urban Shooter podcast, how do they do so?
You can find me at KennBlanchard.com. That's Ken with two N's. And the Urban Shooter podcast is on iTunes. You just look up the Urban Shooter. You'll see my big face up on there.
All right, man. Hey, it's so good talking to you again. We'll do it again very soon.
All right, man. God bless.
You too. Kenn Blanchard joining us this evening.